On February 12, 2004, Kathy Abel came home to find a lion on her front porch, her dog dead in the yard, and no sign of her husband. Kathy and her husband Al Abel lived in Elizabethtown, Illinois. They were farmers, and back in the 90s they decided to start a breeding facility called Cougar Bluff Enterprises. They built cages in their backyard and filled them with a couple of cougars, Freddy and Sassyfrass, a lion cub named Simba, and some wolves. They hoped to breed and sell these wild animals they loved, but the more they saw what breeders and dealers were doing to these animals, like the former owner of Sassyfrass who used to beat him with a shovel, the more they realized that there was no good reason to be breeding and selling exotics. So thankfully, they never bred the big cats. But on that February day, 2004, tragedy struck. Simba, the lion they had raised since a cub, had bitten Al Abel on the leg while he was cleaning the cat's enclosure. Al bled to death before help arrived, and deputies shot and killed Simba before he fled into the neighboring Shawnee National Forest. Fast forward to 2010. We received a post on our Facebook page saying that Kathy Abel had killed herself, leaving the cougars on her property with no one for miles around to care for them. We responded immediately saying that we would rescue Freddy and Sassyfrass the cougars. The 9-day wait to get the health certificate and import permit felt even longer when word reached us that Freddy, the 14-year-old cougar, hadn't eaten for a long time and was looking worse every day. Finally, we got the go-ahead, and myself and 2 other staff members drove straight up to Illinois. We eventually found the property, which was situated just off the road, and there was nothing in place to stop people from walking up to the cougar cages. The property was run down and old. There was lots of trash and waste everywhere. Freddy's cage was directly behind the house, and Sassyfrass was a couple of 100 feet away from the buildings at the bottom of the field. They were chain-link cages, and they had thick rubber matting on the floor, similar to what you might find in a garage or maybe a gym. This makes it easier to spray the cages clean. Both cats were left open to the elements, only having a dog glue as a shelter from the rain and freezing temperatures. You never quite know what to expect on a rescue, so we come prepared for any type of situation. We brought with us 2 large carriers to bring the cats back down to Tampa, an assortment of meat, poles, tools, blankets, and bedding. After some cage alterations and getting the carrier fixed securely into place, we were able to entice Sassyfrass into the carrier quite easily, secure the door, and load him into the van. But Freddy was a different story. He really didn't like the look of the carrier, and despite showing lots of interest in a rabbit we brought with us, he never quite made it far enough into the carrier for us to safely close the door. So with time running out and rain starting to fall, we decided to construct a tunnel. We could then entice Freddy down towards the carrier with food and close the door behind him, leaving him nowhere to go but the carrier. Eventually, with all hands on deck, including the owner's sister and Chris behind the camera, we were able to get Freddy safely into the carrier and loaded into the dry van. We had spent the past 5 hours catching the cats, so as soon as we were packed up and ready, we began the drive back to sunny Tampa. A few miles down the road, we had to make a quick stop. Freddy, obviously not impressed with his new surroundings, began to pull at the carrier door, twisting the metal. You can see the damage here. So we quickly reinforced the carrier with more cage wire before setting off again. This goes to show yet again how dangerous these animals are. We monitored the cats closely on the 15-hour drive back to the sanctuary. Freddy soon settled down, and Sassyfrass seemed to enjoy the warm van and was quiet the whole way back. We arrived back at Big Cat Rescue in the early hours of the morning and were able to grab a few hours sleep before releasing them into their new homes. Swapping rubber matting for grass and plastic dog loose for huge natural dens, they looked better immediately, not to mention their pools and lakeside view. Since being rescued, Freddy and Sassyfrass have been switched over to a good, balanced diet, and both are eating well. Freddy allowed staff to remove his collar without anesthesia. They receive regular enrichment with new smells and textures, and they seem very comfortable in their new home. We would like to thank everybody who worked together to make this rescue happen. To read the full story and timeline of the rescue, please visit bigcatrescue.org. If you would like to help change the way people treat big cats, please text the word tiger to 20222.